You ever watch a moment unfold on TV and just know something's off? Like, you're squinting at the screen wondering if you're the only one seeing the setup? That's exactly what it felt like watching Shedeur Sanders in that preseason game. And no, this wasn't just a rookie having an off night. This wasn't jitters. This was something else. Something that had fans, experts, and analysts all clutching their mics and raising eyebrows. Because what happened to Shedeur Sanders wasn't just unfair. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. It was textbook sabotage in slow motion. From the outside, it looked like a simple preseason debut. A rookie quarterback trying to find his footing in the NFL, nerves high, lights bright, stakes low. But if you peel back even one layer, it became painfully obvious. Shedeur was thrown into the fire without so much as a drop of water. And not in a trial by fire, prove yourself, earn your stripes kind of way. No, this was more like, hey, here's a blindfold and a flamethrower. Now go in a game with the practice squad. Let's rewind for a second. Shedeur Sanders, yep, son of that Sanders, Dion, has been grinding for years. At Colorado, the man balled. He didn't just coast on his last name. He went out there and earned the respect. Precision passing, leadership, off-the-charts work ethic. We're talking hours after practice, drills on his own time, film study like his life depended on it. Say what you will, but Shedeur's not coasting. He's climbing. So when the NFL came calling, expectations were high, but realistic. He wasn't walking in as the next Mahomes, but people saw the potential, the kind of spark that, with time and support, could become something special. Enter the Cleveland Browns. Enter Kevin Stefanski. And enter the slow-moving train wreck no one could look away from. Now, preseason games, they're not meant to ruin anyone. They're low-stakes chances to test plays, evaluate talent, and give young guys a chance to mesh with the big dogs. It's where you see what a player can do when they're given the tools to succeed. Except, well, Shedeur wasn't given any of that. No first-team reps. None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Instead, he was thrown in with the third and fourth stringers. Players barely hanging on to roster spots, many of whom might be bagging groceries or running insurance seminars next week. And look, it's no shade to those guys. Everyone's fighting for their shot. But how are you supposed to shine when your receivers don't know the routes, your linemen can't block, and offensive rhythm is basically a high school band warming up? But here's where it gets really messy. Because when the dust settled and Shedeur's stat line was underwhelming, people were quick to pounce. Twitter hot takes, Reddit threads, YouTube reaction videos, all dissecting his every move like he'd just blown a playoff game. And where was Stefanski in all this? Cool as ice, brushing it off. Said Shedeur was just developing, that it's part of the process. Developing what exactly? PTSD? Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith weren't having it. Say what you will about those two, but when they smell injustice, they grab the mic and don't let go. Both came out swinging, calling out not just Stefanski, but the entire Brown system for doing Shedeur dirty. Garrett Bush, too, another loud voice in the sports world, called it like he saw it. A setup, a calculated, silent takedown dressed up as evaluation. And let's pause here for a second, because this isn't just about football anymore. This is about narrative. This is about how young black quarterbacks are often held to a different standard. How if you're not the golden boy prototype, if you don't fit the mold the league prefers, your leash is shorter. Your opportunities are slimmer. Your mistakes are louder. It's not paranoia. It's pattern. Shedeur wasn't just playing football that night. He was walking into a system that already decided who he was. And maybe the most frustrating part, he still took accountability. After all that, after being hung out to dry, Shedeur got in front of cameras and took full responsibility. Said he could have played better. Said he had things to work on. Didn't blame his teammates. Didn't throw a tantrum. Just stood there, took it on the chin, and stayed professional. That's what real leadership looks like. That's what resilience looks like. But you think the coaching staff might, I don't know, support that? Maybe give him a second game with actual weapons? Let him run a few plays with the starting O-line? See what he can do when he's not ducking defenders 1.2 seconds after the snap. Instead, it's crickets. Stefanski doubled down, insisting Shedur's performance was part of the normal rookie process. "We're just developing him," he repeated, like a broken Madden simulation. But the thing is, if you're really developing someone, you don't throw them into the deep end without floaties and walk away. You guide, you mentor, you set them up to succeed. And let's be honest here, the NFL is no stranger to strange politics. Certain players are fast-tracked, while others are put in purgatory. And for someone like Shadur, with the spotlight of his last name and the weight of expectations from his father's legacy, the margin for error is razor-thin. The league loves a redemption story, but only after they've broken you first. So while the media cycle continues spinning, while fans argue stats and coaches deflect criticism, there's one undeniable truth. Shedeur Sanders was set up, and he still handled it with more class than most veterans. You have to wonder, what's the actual plan here? Is Stefanski so committed to his blueprint that he can't see the forest for the failed QB development trees? Or is this another case of the league chewing up raw talent just because it didn't arrive in the right packaging? Because here's what should have happened. Shedeur should have been eased in, given a few drives with the first team. Let him show off that football IQ, that pocket awareness, that arm. Put him in a position to grow, not just survive. Instead, the Browns turned his debut into a reality TV challenge. No tools, no help, and cameras rolling. Fans noticed. Analysts noticed. Hell, even people who don't watch football noticed. And now there's a bigger conversation bubbling up about fairness, about development, and about what it really takes to make it in a league that claims to love talent, but only when it fits a certain frame. And yet, through all the drama, all the mess, all the politics, Shedeur Sanders is still standing, still focused, still grinding. That's why we're giving Shedeur the honorary "took the high road despite being tossed off a cliff" award. Because if there's anyone who deserved better and still handled it like a pro, it's him. So here's your cue to jump into the comments, because we know you have thoughts. Was this just a rookie rough patch? Or did the Browns fumble an entire narrative before it even got started? And don't forget to subscribe, because this league, it never sleeps. And neither does the drama. Because here's the thing that keeps gnawing at fans, analysts, and anyone with even half a football brain. Why draft a guy, hype him up, then throw him into a blender on live TV? If Shedeur Sanders was just another late-round pick with no pedigree, no buzz, maybe you could chalk this up to bad luck, a rough night, a fluke performance. But this wasn't some anonymous rookie. This was Shedeur freaking Sanders, the heir to Coach Prime's dynasty, the guy with ice in his veins and a highlight reel that had half of college football, convinced he was the real deal, not some gimmick, not just Deion's son, a legit quarterback with vision, poise, and serious potential. But when you throw him out there with receivers who couldn't catch a cold and linemen with the reaction time of dial-up internet, what exactly are you evaluating? His mobility? His survival instincts? His ability to perform CPR on a dead offensive line? And then the worst part, the silence. No public backing. No real-time adjustments. No, we believe in Shedeur. Just a quiet retreat behind the same tired coach speak about development and depth charts. It felt like watching someone walk into a job interview while the employer secretly decided they weren't hiring. Like, sure, come show us what you can do. Oh, by the way, the printer's on fire, the power's out, and your resume got shredded. Good luck. It's the kind of quiet sabotage that doesn't make headlines but leaves scars. And make no mistake, this isn't just about the Cleveland Browns or Kevin Stefanski. This is about a culture in professional sports where the term fair shot is thrown around like a buzzword, while the actual system grinds promising talent into dust. Where some quarterbacks get 3 seasons, 10 excuses, and a full PR campaign, while others get 3 drives behind a collapsing pocket and a one-way ticket to the bench. Let's not pretend like we haven't seen this movie before. Talented black quarterbacks coming into the league, only to be mislabeled, mishandled, or just plain misunderstood. Needs development. They'll say, not ready. Maybe switch to receiver. It's the same script, different name. And while Shedeur didn't come out and say it, you could feel in the way he carried himself afterward. No finger pointing. No cryptic tweets. Just quiet accountability, like a guy who knows exactly how this game works and how stacked the deck really is. That kind of grace under fire, that's not normal. That's earned. And you better believe the NFL noticed. Because while the Browns may have tossed him under bus, the rest of the league saw that footage too. Other teams saw a kid standing tall in the pocket, while defenders blew past confused blockers. They saw him try to make something out of nothing multiple times. They saw flashes of poise, even when everything around him was chaos. And here's where it gets almost poetic. The more Stefanski tried to bury Shedeur's shine, the brighter it started to glow. Because there's something magnetic about watching someone fight uphill and still keep their head. It's what turns rookies into stories, and stories into legends. So let's talk fallout. Not just from fans, who absolutely torched Stefanski on social media, but from actual voices in the industry who usually keep things nice and tidy. When guys like Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith both go off, you know the situation's messy. Those two disagree on what day it is. But here, they were united in calling the Browns' handling of Shedeur a disaster. Stephen A. practically screamed through his mic, pointing out that you can't expect a quarterback to shine with zero chemistry and subpar protection. Skip never want to hold back, straight up called it sabotage. And let's be honest, they weren't wrong. But Stefanski's response? Basically the verbal equivalent of a shrug. Said Shedeur was learning, that the reps were valuable, that the team had a developmental plan. Sir, with all due respect, if that was a plan, I'd hate to see what winging it looks like. The real twist here? This whole mess might have unintentionally elevated Shedeur's profile even more. You know how sometimes a villain ends up creating the hero by accident? That's exactly what this feels like. The moment Stefanski failed to protect his rookie QB, he turned Shedeur from promising prospect into guy the league needs to look out for. Because now, the sympathy's on his side. The spotlight's even brighter. And the stakes just went way up. Now, when Shedeur gets his real shot, when he's actually given a fair chance with competent players around him, you better believe fans are going to be watching. Not just to see if he's good, but to see if he proves everyone wrong. And honestly, that's the energy he's bringing. You can feel it. That quiet fire. That unshakable confidence. That look that says, all right, I see how it is. Bet. So what happens next? Well, if history is any guide, the Browns will probably pretend nothing happened. Stefanski will keep spinning quotes like a political press secretary, and the front office will act like they've got everything under control. Business as usual. But the fans? They won't forget. Neither will Shedeur. And somewhere in a film room or on a quiet practice field, he's already putting in the hours, already working on the next chapter, already writing the comeback. Because the real ones, they don't fold. They adapt. And let's be clear, Shedeur's story isn't over. It's just beginning. The preseason flop? That's not the headline. That's the prologue. The messy, chaotic. Can you believe they did him like that? Part of the movie before the main character levels up and shuts everyone up with a single throw. You can't teach that kind of hunger. You can't fake that kind of grit. And the Browns? They might have missed their chance to be part of it. So if you're sitting there wondering whether Shedeur Sanders is a real deal, just remember this. He already passed the hardest test. Not a game, not a playbook, but the test of being humiliated, blamed, and left out to dry, and still showing up with integrity. That's not just a quarterback. That's a leader. And if there's one thing the NFL loves more than prodigy, it's a redemption arc. And here's where things really start to spiral into that oh-so-familiar NFL absurdity. The part where the system pretends it's working just fine while the house is clearly on fire. Let's break it down. The Browns spent valuable preseason reps wasting one of the most talked-about young QBs in the league by sticking behind a line that looked like they were holding tryouts at a local YMCA. And the worst part? They acted like this was totally normal. We just wanted to see how he reacts in tough situations. Tough situations? That wasn't a situation. That was a trap. A quarterback's job isn't to survive the offense. It's to run it. And unless Stefanski's secretly developing a military-grade evasion tactic for future quarterbacks, what exactly was the lesson here? How to run for your life. how to mentally compartmentalize getting sacked 4 times in 6 minutes. It's the same playbook we've seen used against countless promising players before. Give them no time, no support, and no rhythm, and then use a poor performance as proof they weren't ready. It's like handing someone a puzzle with half the pieces missing and saying, "See? Told you they couldn't do it." And let's not forget, Shedeur knew it. You could see it in his posture during the post-game interview. Calm, controlled, but that quiet simmer under the surface? Oh, it was there. He wasn't fooled by the setup. He just chose not to take the bait. And that's the real kicker. Because the NFL loves when players lash out. It makes their lives easier. The moment a young player throws a tantrum or calls out the system, it gives the league all the ammo they need to stick them with the immature label. But Shedeur, he didn't flinch. He owned the mess that wasn't even his fault. That's the kind of move that makes other teams pay attention. Like, serious attention. Because there are coaches out there, coaches who actually know how to develop quarterbacks, who saw through the nonsense. They saw the pressure, the collapsing pocket, the zero chemistry, and still picked out the flashes. That quick release, that field vision, that leadership, all the intangible stuff you can't coach. And don't think for a second that Deion Sanders isn't watching this unfold with the same unblinking glare he used to wear on the field. Coach Prime didn't raise a quitter. He raised a fighter, a tactician, a student of the game. You think Shedeur didn't go home that night and rewatch every second of that mess on film? You think he wasn't already breaking it down, already crafting his response? Not to the media, but on the field? Shedeur doesn't just play football. He lives it. And this league, for all its billion-dollar production value and polished press conferences, still doesn't quite know what to do with that kind of hunger. It's not clean. It's not easy. It's not predictable. It's a slow burn. And right now, Shedeur's stock, it's smoldering. Quietly. Relentlessly. What's wild is that the Browns could have owned the story. They could have made it a triumph. Imagine the headlines. Shedeur Sanders stuns in first-team reps, shows poise beyond his years. They had the narrative sitting there, gift-wrapped. But instead, they chose the slow-motion sabotage route. Why? Ego? Rigidity? Some weird allegiance to their existing quarterback room? Whatever the reason, it's a masterclass in how to mismanage talent in public view. And look, we get it. Not every rookie walks in and gets the royal treatment. But when you know the spotlight is on someone, when you know there's a legacy involved, and when you know the kid has already proven he's willing to work harder than anyone else, why not set him up to win? It's not even about favoritism. It's about basic logic. Because here's the dirty little secret the NFL rarely admits. A lot of this stuff, it's just vibes. Coaches talk about metrics and analytics, but when it comes down to it, a ton of decisions are based on gut feelings, politics, and narrative management. And right now, the narrative around Shedeur is electrifying, not because of some flashy 300-yard preseason debut, but because he walked through a disaster with dignity. And that's rare. That's real. There's something almost cinematic about it. A young quarterback with the world watching, set up to fail by the very system meant to nurture him, and instead of folding, he turns it into fuel. You can't script that. You can only feel it. And you will feel it again when he gets another shot. Whether for the Browns, not likely, or another team smart enough to see what's coming, Shedeur's not done. Not even close. So what's next? Well, if we know anything about this league, it's that reputations move fast. One good preseason drive somewhere else. One moment of brilliance with a decent supporting cast, and the narrative will flip instantly. Was Shedeur always as good? Why didn't the Browns see it? Is Kevin Stefanski losing control of the locker room? It's coming. The media loves a flip-flop. And the second Shedeur proves the doubters wrong, which, let's be real, feels inevitable, they'll act like they were behind him all along. But we won't forget how this all started. We won't forget how a team with every resource in the world somehow forgot how to support a rookie QB. How a coach with offensive guru slapped across his job title couldn't figure out that reps with the first team might be kind of important. How the post-game analysis turned into a clown show of excuses, while the real story sat quietly at the podium, taking accountability for a situation he didn't create. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just another quarterback story. He's a cautionary tale, the underdog arc, and the slow burn revenge tour all rolled into one. And if there's one thing this league has taught us time and time again, it's that the people you count out always find a way to punch back. So next time you see Shadur on your screen, whether it's in another preseason game, a late season starter spot, or a viral clip of him launching a 40-yard bomb into the end zone, remember this moment. Remember how they tried to silence him before he even got a mic. Remember how they stuck him in the basement and expected him to shine. And remember how, somehow, he still walked out with his head up, eyes forward, and his game plan locked. We're watching, we're waiting, and we're rooting for that next headline to read. They should have believed in Shedeur Sanders.